So some keys to remote selling. When you can't prospect in person, remote selling becomes far, far, far more important than it's ever been before. So we're going to go over some best practices from selling away from the office, really focused on 4 areas: the old telephone, the old email. We're going to talk about social media, which I think is a phenomenal tool to use today. And then we're also going to talk about Zoom, a web-based conference system that we here at Assurity use, and I think is a good tool for you all as well. So combined, these 4 techniques can help you stay on track while you're working remote. And you never know, you might even learn something. You may pick up a new skill that you can use when you get back to the office. So cold calls and voicemails. It's a fact that talking on the phone today is the least popular use for a smartphone. Chances are, especially if your prospects, your customers don't recognize your phone number, you may be getting a lot of voicemails, especially during this crisis. So how do you turn a missed call into a sales opportunity? It really starts with having a timer and a sales script, that 30-second elevator pitch. And I know we're not meeting people on elevators, but kind of the same thing goes, that 30-second sales pitch. A cold call is definitely not the right time to be listing a dozen reasons why now's the time to buy, or reasons why this carrier's products are better, and you got to act now, the limited time, all that good stuff. We really need to think about a message that exudes empathy and empowerment. Make sure your personality comes through in that voicemail, okay? You know what? We all get those automated calls. There's no human touch to them. So in your voicemail, make sure that you smile. That does come through. In your voicemail. Also, if there's distracting noises in the background, maybe you've got a car honking, you got some kids playing in the background, you got a dog that's barking a little bit, it's perfectly fine. We're all in this together. We're all dealing with a similar type of situations. And it's okay to admit, hey, it's a little crazy around here, but you are my most important thing going on right now. Make sure you deliver the right message. And really, can you convey your point in fewer than 3 sentences? You really want to aim to answer 3 questions. Number 1, what is the issue? And what do they need to do next? How are they going to connect with you? Are there multiple ways for them to respond? As I mentioned, email, text, phone, social media. If you have an established relationship with them, or you have connections in common, it's perfectly fine to go ahead and mention that. It adds that human touch to it. You don't want to be fast while leaving your message. You don't necessarily want to talk too fast, but time is precious. And the best voicemails combine all of the above elements in as few words as possible. Email. Keeping your message brief in an email is of course important, and shouldn't really be any different than the information that we described with making cold calls and leaving voicemails. Keep one thing in mind though. People are very suspicious of phishing and fraud attempts via email. So try to create a call to action without any links in your email. I love to add a picture that kind of puts that personal touch. Hey, this is an actual person that's emailing me, not just a system. Mention your social media accounts, anything besides clicking on a link for more information. Now, subject lines. Subject lines are crucial to getting your email opened. Obviously, if people trust who the email was sent from, the very next thing that they're going to check is that subject line. And I'm going to talk about a couple of guidelines you can follow to make sure that you write a great subject line. Number 1, be personal. If a prospect's name is in that subject line, it looks like it was meant directly for them and not sent out to a massive distribution list. And don't forget those key messages of empathy and empowerment when you're reaching out. Number 2, another way to get emails open is by starting a conversation. If that subject line asks about a prospect, they're very likely going to be more inclined to open it and respond. And that's the key. We all get tons of emails every single day. What are you going to do to set your email apart to get their attention, to get them to click and open that email? A great tip for creating subject lines is to include a strong verb that makes people want to act. They're already thinking about doing something even before they click to open that email. So that subject line is a very, very important thing to make sure that is on point. Lastly, stay away from using all caps. We don't want to make it seem like we're yelling at people or screaming at people. Check your punctuation, your sentence structure. I know myself, when I'm sending out prospecting emails, I'll have a couple of my counterparts or a family member read just to make sure that it makes sense, to make sure that it flows appropriately. Punctuation and that sentence structure are very, very crucial in drafting emails. Let's talk about social media. So when you're not meeting clients face-to-face, it can be very difficult to build that rapport with your customer. That's where really social media comes in. It's a great place to research your prospects before you talk to them because you can learn a tremendous amount. By checking their social media profiles, you can kind of learn what their frame of mind is right now. It can kind of be the key to approaching them with the right message. If they're nervous, they're unsure about something, you want to exude that confidence and let them know that, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you in your time of need. Do you have things in common with them? Maybe it's a sports team, maybe it's a travel spot, anything. Do you have anything in common with them that you can find out through social media? Again, another way of connecting with them. Are they having issues? And this is something that I think is very, very important, is going through these social media accounts, which you can see. Are they talking about the loss of a family member, maybe a family member that's been infected, or they purchased a new home, whatever it may be? Are they having issues? Are they having struggles right now that you can help with? And what do they need to protect? If your clients have a big family or a new home, they might be wondering about protecting those things. So looking at their social media feed can help you see what's important to that prospect. One other thing regarding social media, I've got some friends, some family members that post all the time on social media, so it's really easy to tell what's going on in their life. Other people rarely, if ever, post. So sometimes it can be difficult to find out much about them, but that should also help. How are you going to connect with them? If they're not real active on social media, we're going to want to go back and really focus on the voicemails and the emails. We're going to talk about video conferencing options. Zoom has been a star of the recent crisis. People are working, celebrating, and letting off steam on this tool. It's a really, really cool tool that we here at Assurity use. But why is it so popular? Well, it's popular because it's free. It's really easy to use, and candidly, it works on just about every device that you have. But really, how do you get the most out of it? So we're going to talk about a little checklist for you to keep in mind each time that you use Zoom. These are pretty simple, pretty basic, but I do think that we need to discuss these just to make sure that we are on point. Number one, be early. Join 5-10 minutes early. Make sure that you are prepared. Make sure you've got a strong connection. Make sure that your background and everything looks appropriate. Make sure your dress looks appropriate. During that introduction phase, when your client's first connecting, make sure you set aside some time to get them comfortable with Zoom, to make sure they're able to connect both the audio and video. And I'm a huge fan, especially in today's environment, of using video. People like to see each other since we can't meet face to face. You don't want to waste half of your time playing with the settings. And I actually had a call with an agent last week, and I was going through some illustrations, teaching him how to run some illustrations on Assurity software. And he had commented that this was a tool. He thanked me for showing him the tool, but mentioned that this is how he was going to start connecting with his grandchildren who were spread out throughout the country. So Zoom is a great, great tool. It does have a whiteboard and annotation feature. So any of the normal documents and such that you would bring to an appointment with you, you're able to share with them electronically. I'm not a big fan of going through a big PowerPoint presentation over Zoom, but those handouts you can absolutely show So you'll use these tools to share and allow them to point out things on your documents, maybe that they have questions about. Also, embrace the pause. As we're using this technology, sometimes using the internet, there can be slight delays, as we've seen here in this presentation. Embrace the pause. If you ask them a question, give them a little bit more time than normal to answer, because there may be that delay over the video conferencing. So definitely embrace that pause. You don't want to be interrupting them talking over each other. And last but not least, make a good impression. Lighting in your background and your dress are so important. I would encourage you, if you're going to set up a video conference, to make sure the lighting is pointed at your face. You don't want lighting behind you because it kind of drowns out your features. So if you have a window by, just make sure that the placement is appropriate, because you want your face to be shown vividly. Look directly into that webcam. I know it's simple, and sometimes it does take a little bit of training to get accustomed to, but looking directly into that webcam lets you know that you're paying attention, you're looking them in the eyes. Staying secure with Zoom. There have been some concerns regarding security, of course, as we talked about phishing attempts on email. But any of these web-based platforms, we want to make sure if we're connecting and communicating with a customer, that it is a secure connection. So here's some tips to use specifically with Zoom. There's a waiting room feature that you can opt for. Basically, when people join your Zoom meeting, they're going to be in a waiting room, and you can select who comes in and when they come in. So that's a great way of making sure that some stranger does not join your Zoom meeting. If somebody does happen to get in, there is the ability to manage participants through Zoom, so you can actually add and remove people from the call. And last, you can use the lock meeting feature so that no more participants join the call. If you've got a Zoom meeting set up with a husband and wife, they both join, you can click that lock meeting feature to where nobody else will have to join, and you can focus on your sales presentation. So Zoom is a great tool, video conferencing tool. I really encourage you to use the video. My experience here over this quarantine period is people love to see our faces. It just helps connect a little bit better. So with that, at this point, we've talked about, kind of virtually setting up our messaging, how to connect with customers using social media. So at this point, you've met with your clients and you've had that initial conversation. At this time, I would like to bring on my friend and counterpart, Paige Phelps, who's going to take it from here. So Paige, the floor is yours.